He thought he was just taking his daughter to the doctor.
But when the door opened,
he came face to face with the woman he abandoned years ago. And what she revealed next changed everything. Was it fate, karma, or a second chance? You will not believe how this emotional story unfolds. Stay till the end for a powerful twist and a lesson that might just change your life. Before we dive into this incredible story, do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon, so you never miss our powerful, life-changing content. This is not just entertainment. Every story comes with a meaningful moral lesson. The billionaire took his daughter to the doctor and found out it was his ex-fiancée. I remember that morning too clearly. The city had just started breathing. Cars rolled like restless waves through the misty dawn. But inside my chest, the silence was heavier than the world outside. My daughter Emily sat in the back seat. 8 years old. A fragile little flower with eyes like her mother's, soft, searching, honest. She had been coughing all night. No fever, but something about the sound, it scared me. I drove faster than I should have. Every cough twisted my insides. Not because I feared sickness, but because I feared helplessness. For all my billions, I could not cure a single breath. We pulled up to the private clinic. Marble floors. A gentle receptionist. A waiting room filled with quiet worry and soft jazz. I gave them my name. They nodded and said the pediatric specialist was new. Highly recommended. Very personal. I did not care about credentials. I just wanted Emily to stop coughing. We sat for 15 minutes. My hand wrapped around hers. Tiny fingers. Warm and trembling. When the nurse finally called us in, I stood and lifted Emily gently. The hallway was long. The doctor's office door was already open. And then, I saw her. It was like the world tilted. Like my spine forgot how to hold me. She looked up from a file. Eyes still the same deep brown. Hair longer now, tied back. Lips parted in silent shock. Sophia. The woman I had once planned to marry. The woman I left without a goodbye. I froze. The room closed in. My knees locked. My breath caught. Emily looked at me. Then at her. Daddy, why are you not moving? Sophia blinked, stood slowly. Her hands trembled slightly. But her voice. Steady, calm, professional. Please bring her in. I nodded. Walked stiffly. Sat Emily on the cushioned exam chair. Sophia placed her stethoscope to Emily's chest. Her fingers brushed against her little arms. Then her eyes met mine. There was pain there. Pain wrapped in silence. But there was something else. Something I could not read. Her lungs are clear, she said gently. But this cough sounds stress-related. Has anything changed in her life recently? I wanted to speak. But my throat would not obey. Sophia turned back to Emily. Sweetheart, do you ever feel scared or sad? Emily hesitated. Then nodded. Sometimes. When Daddy works too late. Or when he does not smile. Sophia nodded slowly. Her hand touched Emily's cheek. Her expression cracked. A flicker of something raw. I felt exposed. Not as a billionaire. Not as a man in a suit. But as a father. And as the man who broke her heart. After the checkup, Sophia handed me a prescription. Nothing medical. Just handwritten words. Time. Attention. And maybe answers. I stared at the paper. The room was too quiet. I could hear my own heartbeat. Fast. Unsteady. Lost. When Emily stepped out to grab a lollipop from the nurse, I stayed behind. Sophia walked toward the window. The sun hit her profile. Her shoulders lifted with a deep breath. You left without a word. Her voice did not shake. But it pierced. Clean. Precise. Final. I know, I whispered. And suddenly, I felt small. My empire, my wealth, my walls. Useless here. I was a coward. And I paid for it. Every day since. She turned. Her eyes now glistened. But no tears fell. You said you wanted to build a future. You never realized. You already had one. I wanted to fall to my knees. I wanted to tell her how many times I thought of her. How I had stood outside her apartment. Unable to knock. How I watched her move on. Graduate. Rise. Shine. But I never expected her to still carry that storm in her eyes. Why did you not tell me you became a doctor? I asked. She gave a tired smile. You stopped asking long ago.
I looked down. Ashamed. Hollow.
And full of questions I had buried for years. And then she added softly, Emily looks familiar.
My heart skipped. I nodded slowly. She is not yours, Sophia. But maybe. You were always hers. She stared at me. Confused. Wounded. Hopeful. Before she could speak, Emily returned. Lollipop in hand.
Smiling again. She walked over to Sophia and hugged her legs.
Thank you, doctor.
You remind me of someone Daddy used to draw.
Sophia's breath caught. She knelt down.
Tears now welled in her eyes.
What did he draw? She asked. Emily smiled. A lady in the stars.
With long hair and a brave heart. He said she once saved him. Sophia looked up at me.
And I
could no longer hold the tears back. This was no longer about the past. This was about what I ran from. And who I still was without her. The silence between us held decades. But in Emily's smile,
there was still time.
Still a story unwritten. Still a truth yet to be spoken. Sophia rose slowly. Her hand brushed Emily's hair. As if afraid that touching her too long might break something sacred. She is beautiful.
She whispered. Her voice cracked.
Even though she tried to hide it.
I stepped closer. Carefully.
Like every inch might cross a border I was no longer sure I had the right to. She is my whole world now.
I paused. Swallowed the guilt.
I just never thought that world would lead me.
Here. To you. Sophia nodded. But said nothing. Her eyes scanned the room for words that never came. Until finally, she looked me straight in the eye. You disappeared, Adam. You vanished like we never existed. Like I was a season you outgrew. I felt that. It hurt.
Because it was true. I thought I had to prove something.
I said.
I believed success would heal the holes inside me. That maybe, if I built something big enough, I would feel worthy again. Sophia folded her arms. Worthy of what?
Of you. Of love.
Of a life that scared me more than failure ever did.
The room turned still.
Even Emily grew quiet, looking between us like she had stumbled into a grown-up storm. Sophia sighed. Her shoulders dropped. Not from anger, but from the weight of too many years carrying unanswered questions. You could have just said you were scared, she said softly. I would have waited. Or walked beside you. But you never let me choose.
Her words stung.
Not because they were cruel, but because they were honest. I looked at her then. Really looked. The woman in front of me had survived her own war. She had built her life without me.
But some part of her,
some quiet, flickering part, still remembered us. Why did you become a pediatrician? I asked gently. Sophia smiled faintly. After you left. I needed purpose. I needed to give love somewhere it would not be abandoned.
She looked at Emily again. Her smile softened.
And now here she is.
I swallowed hard.
The lump in my throat refused to move. I knelt down next to them. Face to face with two parts of my life that never met.
Until now.
Emily, I said slowly. There is something I want you to know.
This woman. She is someone I once hurt. And maybe.
Someone I should have never let go. Emily tilted her head. But you still draw her.
Sophia blinked. What?
She showed up in all his sketches. Even the ones he thought I never saw. With stars behind her. And always looking up. Sophia looked at me. Her lips trembled. You kept drawing me? I nodded. It was the only way I knew how to remember. Without breaking. A silence followed. But this time, it was not heavy. It was healing. The kind of silence that listens. Not punishes. Then Emily did something neither of us expected. She took Sophia's hand. And placed it into mine. I think Daddy needs a doctor too. We both laughed. It cracked through the tension like sunlight after a storm. Awkward. Shy. But real. Sophia did not let go of my hand. But she did not pull me close either. Not yet. I am not asking for forgiveness, I said quietly. Not today. Not even tomorrow. But maybe. If you ever look at the stars again, know that someone still remembers what they meant. Her eyes filled again. This time with something softer. Not sorrow. Not regret. But possibility. The nurse peeked in. Doctor, Your next appointment is waiting.
Sophia nodded.
I will be right there.
She stood, brushed her coat,
Took one last look at Emily.
and then at me.
I never stopped hoping you would grow into the man I saw in you.
Maybe now.
You finally have. And just like that, she turned and walked toward the door.
But just before she left, she looked over her shoulder, smiled, and said,
Tell your assistant to call my office.
"We should talk. About a follow-up."
The door closed behind her. My heart beat loud in my ears.
I looked at Emily. She giggled. "I like her." I smiled. "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." Outside, the world had not changed. But inside me, something had shifted. A door I thought I had locked forever was now open. Just a crack, but enough to let in the light. The ride home was quiet. Emily hummed softly in the back seat. She clutched a little paper flower the nurse had made for her. I kept glancing at her in the mirror. Her eyes, still innocent, still filled with wonder. But now I knew. Some part of her heart belonged to a past she never knew. And that past had just looked her in the eye. I pulled into the driveway of our house. A mansion that echoed when we walked through it. Elegant. Perfect. And often, too silent. Emily ran inside to feed her kitten. I stood by the door, still holding Sophia's handwritten prescription. Time. Attention. And maybe answers. I walked into my study, sat at my desk, pulled out the leather sketchbook I thought I had put away for good. Page after page. Drawings of her. Not just her face, but her presence. That night on the rooftop, when she told me she believed in me. That afternoon at the beach, when she said she wanted children someday. The morning I saw her cry, because she cared too deeply. Each memory etched in pencil, frozen in lines I never dared to show. I flipped to the last blank page, and for the first time in years, my hand moved freely. No hesitation. No shame. I drew Emily holding Sophia's hand. Both smiling. One looking forward, the other looking back. And in between them, me. Not the billionaire. Not the man with a title. Just a father. And maybe one day, a partner worth keeping. The next day, I canceled my board meetings, cleared my calendar, picked Emily up from school myself. She was surprised. Why are you not in your office? I smiled. Because my most important job is being your father. She grinned, wrapped her arms around me in the middle of the hallway. Parents watched. I did not care. I was learning. Slowly. Clumsily. But truly. The following week, I did as Sophia asked. Had my assistant reach out for a follow-up. Her reply came through email. Wednesday afternoon. My clinic. No rush. Just bring Emily. And maybe bring yourself too. I read that line over and over. Not just for what it said, but for what it left unsaid. Wednesday came. Emily wore her favorite blue dress. She had braided her hair, just like the drawing on my desk. We walked into the clinic together. Sophia was already waiting. This time, she wore a soft blue blouse. And a necklace I remembered. A tiny star pendant. Emily ran up and hugged her. No hesitation. Like they had known each other forever. Sophia looked at me. Smiled gently. Glad you came. I nodded. Glad you opened the door. She led us into her office again. Same chair. Same window. But something felt different. There was warmth now. A pulse between the silence. After Emily finished her quick checkup, she asked, "Can we go to the park together? All three of us?" Sophia hesitated. Looked at me. I said yes. Without thinking. Without fear. At the park, Emily ran toward the swings. Laughed like the sky was hers. I sat beside Sophia on a bench. Close. But not too close. The sun lit her face gently. She watched Emily. Then turned to me. "You know." She paused. "I almost left this city when you left me." "I know," I said. "I would have too." She chuckled. "Why did you come back?" I looked at her. Then at Emily. Because I realized, the only life worth living is the one where I stop running. Sophia nodded. Her hand brushed against mine. Fingers curled. Just slightly. Like an old melody remembered. We sat in silence again. But this time, it felt like music. Behind us, Emily shouted, "Look, Daddy. I can swing all by myself." Sophia smiled. "You gave her strength." I shook my head. "No. She gave it to me." And just like that, I knew. This was not the end. It was the beginning of a second chance. I never thought I deserved. A chapter, still being written, in the heartbeats between forgiveness and love. The days that followed moved gently, like leaves drifting on a calm river. No sudden waves. No storms. Just quiet rediscovery. Sophia and I started speaking more. Not as strangers. Not as two people wounded by the past. But as companions on unfamiliar ground. She invited Emily and me to dinner one Friday night. Her apartment was simple. Elegant. Warm in ways my mansion had never managed to be. The kitchen smelled of rosemary and roasted garlic. Emily danced barefoot on the wooden floor, chasing a tune from the old radio in the corner. I watched Sophia move from stove to sink. Her apron tied loosely. Hair pulled back with a clip. Sunlight from the window wrapping her like a memory I had missed too long. "Need help?" I asked. She glanced back. Smiled. Just keep her entertained. Emily grabbed my hand and twirled. I laughed. The sound surprised me. I had not laughed like that in years. Not the polite kind, but the kind that starts in the chest and reaches the soul. Dinner was served at a small wooden table. Scratches on the surface. Marks from life lived honestly. Sophia poured juice for Emily. Then tea for me. No servants. No schedules. No image to protect. Just a meal. And something more tender. Presents. Emily giggled between bites. Told stories about school. About her drawings. And about the lady in the stars who helped her feel brave. Sophia listened intently. Like every word mattered. Like she had known Emily for years. After dinner, Emily fell asleep on the couch with a book in her hands. Sophia brought out a blanket and tucked her in. She sat beside me again. Close enough to feel the warmth. "Do you remember," she whispered, "the day we promised to name our daughter Lily?" I nodded. My throat tightened. "We sat on your old rooftop," she continued. "You had just lost a deal. You were crushed. But you said, if I ever have a daughter, she will never grow up thinking money means worth." She looked at me now. Her eyes clearer than ever. "You kept that promise, Adam. Even if you forgot everything else." I lowered my head. Tears pooled. Not from regret, but from the weight of grace. "I never forgot you, Sophia. I tried to bury it. Tried to chase the noise. But every silence whispered your name." She reached out. Touched my hand. No words. Just a gesture. One that spoke of hope. We sat there, listening to the sound of Emily's soft breathing. The hum of the fridge. The ticking clock on the wall. Ordinary sounds. But tonight, they sounded like home. Sophia turned her head. Her voice barely audible. "Do you believe in second chances, Adam?" I looked at her. Eyes raw. Heart open. "I believe in what I never fought for the first time. And now, I am ready to fight." Outside, rain tapped gently on the windows. A soft rhythm. Like the earth itself was blessing this moment. Sophia leaned back. Her head rested lightly on my shoulder. And in that stillness, I realized something. Redemption does not shout. It whispers. Through dinners. Through children's laughter. Through the hands that once let go. Now holding on. The night deepened. Emily stirred but did not wake. Sophia reached for her phone. Typed something quickly. Then showed me the screen. It was a photograph. Me and her. From a decade ago. Laughing under fireworks. Her head on my chest. My hand over her heart. "Deleted everything else," she said. "But I kept this one. Just in case you ever found your way back." I swallowed the lump in my throat. Ran my finger gently across the screen. "I am here now. And I am not running again." She nodded. No more words. Just eyes full of stories waiting to be told. And somewhere in the room, love found its way in again. Not loud. Not rushed. But steady. True. Unbreakable. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains. Soft. Golden.
The kind that feels like a quiet blessing. Emily was still asleep on the couch, curled beneath the blanket, her hand clutching a corner of her book. Sophia stood by the stove, pouring coffee. She turned when she heard my footsteps, and smiled. Not the polite kind, but the kind that says, "I see you." I walked over, took the cup she offered. Our fingers brushed. No words. We sipped in silence, watching the city wake up through the window. "This feels strange," I said finally. "But right." She leaned against the counter, hair falling across her face. Her eyes held a quiet softness. "I never stopped imagining what this would feel like," she replied. "But I stopped hoping a long time ago." I nodded, regret still heavy. But hope now sat beside it. "Do you think Emily knows?" I asked. Sophia paused. "What do you mean?" "Knows that we once loved each other." She smiled faintly. "She is a child, Adam. But she feels everything." I looked over at Emily. Her face in sleep was peace itself, like the world had never touched her yet. And suddenly I knew. This second chance was no longer about what I had lost. It was about what I was ready to build. Later that afternoon, we took Emily to the botanical garden, a quiet space tucked into the heart of the city. Flowers blooming like secrets finally spoken. Birds darting through shafts of light. Emily ran ahead, giggling as butterflies swirled around her. Sophia walked beside me, slowly. "No rush. You know," she said. "There was a time I imagined you showing up again. But not like this. Not as a father. Not healed." I turned to her. "I am not fully healed yet." I hesitated. "But I want to be. With you. With her. If you let me." She stopped walking, faced me, her hands in her coat pockets. "You once left without saying goodbye," she said. "If I open that door again, I need to know. You will never walk through it alone. Or away." I took a breath, reached out, took her hands from her pockets, held them gently. "You have my word," I said. "But more than that, you have my presence. This time, I will stay through every season." She searched my face, long, carefully. Then she nodded, and whispered something I had once begged to hear. "Then let us begin again." In the distance, Emily called out, "Come see." A blue butterfly landed on my hand. We walked toward her together, side by side. No masks, no fear. Just three hearts, learning to beat, in rhythm again. And somewhere between the flowers and the sunlight, the past finally loosened its grip, making space for a future that none of us could have written alone. Emily ran toward us, her eyes wide with joy, hand outstretched. The butterfly fluttered away just before she reached us, but her smile remained, as if the magic had already happened. She grabbed Sophia's hand first, then mine, linking us together. 3 fingers, 3 lives, intertwined. "We should plant flowers like that at home," Emily said. "Then maybe butterflies will come live with us." Sophia looked at me, a quiet warmth in her gaze. "Maybe they already have," she said. We walked through the rest of the garden, Emily skipping between us, asking endless questions about the names of plants, how bees make honey, why the sky turns pink in the evening. Sophia answered every question with patience. I watched them, all blooming inside me like the very flowers beneath our feet. I had once believed that success meant silence, loneliness, control. Now I was learning. It meant listening. It meant showing up. It meant letting your life breathe, with the people who filled it with meaning. That evening, back at my house, Sophia stood at the threshold. She looked uncertain, as though stepping into my world might awaken something she was not sure she wanted to feel again. I held the door open, gently, said nothing. Emily tugged her hand. "Come on. You have to see my room." Sophia smiled, soft, still guarded, but she stepped in. Her eyes scanned the grand hallway. High ceilings, polished marble, muted artwork, expensive, but cold. She turned to me. "It is beautiful," she said, "but it is missing something." I nodded. "I know. That is why I asked you here." She followed Emily up the staircase. I watched from below. The sound of their laughter floated down like music. Later, we sat in the living room. Emily fast asleep in her bed upstairs. Sophia took off her shoes, curled her feet beneath her on the couch. She sipped warm chamomile tea. From a mug I forgot we even had. You always chased the future, she said softly. Even when the present was begging for you. I thought I had to, I replied. I thought the world only respected men who never stopped.
She looked at me. Eyes clear. Voice steady.
But did you ever respect yourself? The question struck something deep. Not because it accused me, but because it invited me to look inward. I am starting to, I said. Because now, I am choosing the things that matter. Not the ones that impress. Sophia placed her mug on the table. She leaned in slightly. And what matters most? I met her gaze.
Held it. Did not blink. You. Her.
Moments like this.
Her face softened. A tear formed.
But she wiped it quickly.
Not out of shame. But out of strength.
She leaned her head against my shoulder.
No more words. Only stillness. Only truth.
We sat like that. Until the moon climbed high above the glass ceiling. And somewhere in the quiet, without fanfare or force, we began rebuilding something. Not from the ruins of what was,
but from the truth of who we had become.
Not perfect.
Not hurried. But real. And ready.
The next morning,
I woke before sunrise. The house, for once, felt alive.
Not because of movement or noise, but because something had shifted. There was breath in its walls. There was memory in its silence.
And hope in its stillness.
I stepped quietly past Emily's door. She was still asleep. Her arm wrapped around her stuffed bunny.
Face calm.
A soft smile resting on her lips. I walked to the guest room. Sophia's room now. The door was slightly ajar. The sound of pages turning met my ears. She sat by the window.
Reading.
Wrapped in one of the soft blankets I had kept in the back of the closet.
Unused for years. Her hair was loose. Falling over her shoulder.
Her expression peaceful. She looked up when she saw me. The morning light danced across her face.
No makeup. No guard. Just her.
Could not sleep?
I asked. She shook her head. Too many thoughts.
But none of them heavy. Just quiet.
I stepped inside.
Sat on the armchair across from her. I never imagined you here, I said. Not because I did not want it. But because I never believed I deserved it. Sophia closed the book. Rested it on her lap. We do not deserve grace, she said. We are offered it. What matters is whether we accept it. Her words stayed with me. Hung in the air like sunlight catching dust.
Simple. Soft. True.
Later that day, we cooked breakfast together.
Sophia flipped pancakes.
I scrambled eggs. Emily set the table, placing a fresh flower in a glass cup at the center. It was the most ordinary thing I had done in years.
And yet, it felt extraordinary.
After breakfast, I walked Sophia to her car. She had a shift at the hospital.
And I knew. She still needed space. A rhythm of her own.
At the door,
we stood for a moment.
Unsure if this was a goodbye.
Or just a pause. She turned to me.
I do not want to rush this, she said.
Her tone was clear. Grounded. Kind.
I have built my life slowly.
Carefully.
And I cannot tear it open overnight. Even for you.
I nodded.
I do not want you to.
I reached for her hand. Held it gently.
I just want to be where you are. Even if that means standing still for a while.
She smiled.
One of those rare smiles that carries a promise. Without saying it aloud.
She leaned forward. Kissed my cheek. I will see you soon, she whispered. Then she turned. Got into her car.
And drove away. I stood there for a long time. Watching the road. Feeling something grow inside me.
Not regret. Not fear. But something steady. Something called patience.
Over the next few weeks, we built a rhythm. Dinners twice a week. Park visits with Emily. Occasional phone calls. Sometimes just to share a quiet thought. One night, Sophia invited us to a community fundraiser at the hospital. She had helped organize it. Emily wore a little white dress. I wore a suit I had not touched in months. Not for a boardroom, but for something real. At the event, I watched Sophia move through the crowd. Confident.
graceful, respected. Every person she spoke to smiled just a little more afterward. When she introduced me, she did not call me a billionaire or a businessman. She said, "This is Emily's father, and a man learning how to come home again." That night, I sat on the edge of my bed, alone, thinking about her words. They echoed through my mind. Coming home, not to a place, but to a truth. A love I had once abandoned, and now was finally ready to receive. It was a Sunday morning, cool breeze, clear sky, and for the first time in a long time, peace. Not the kind that comes from having everything, but the kind that comes from no longer needing to. Sophia and I had made it a ritual. Walks in the park after breakfast. Emily rode her bike just ahead, her laughter trailing behind her, like the sound of music in spring. I glanced at Sophia beside me. Her hand gently brushed mine as we walked. No tension, no rush, just presence. She looked up at me and smiled. "I never thought we would get here," she said. "Neither did I replied. "But maybe the best roads are the ones we never planned to take." We stopped by the old oak tree, where Emily had tied a ribbon weeks ago. She said it was for wishes. I asked her once, "What did you wish for?" She giggled. "I wished for you and Miss Sophia to stay with me forever." Sophia had looked away, tears in her eyes. And I had silently promised myself that wish would come true. Because in the end, love is not about perfection. It is about redemption. About returning to the people we once failed. And choosing every day not to fail them again. I used to think success was in the deals, in the towers with my name on them, in the endless numbers rising on screens. But true success, I found it in the quiet moments. In Emily's small hand wrapped around mine. In the sound of Sophia's laughter as she cooked in our kitchen. In the way forgiveness did not erase the past, but built a bridge over it. Sophia and I eventually married. Not in a grand ballroom. Not in front of flashing cameras. Just a garden. Close friends. Emily as our flower girl, who cried more than we did. We built something together. Not from ambition, but from understanding. Not from wealth, but from wisdom. And if there is a lesson I carry, one I wish for everyone listening right now, it is this: do not chase success so far that you outrun the people who would have loved you at your worst. Do not be so focused on what you are building that you forget who you are becoming. Because in the end, money cannot tuck your child into bed. Fame cannot wipe away regret. And power cannot teach you how to say, "I am sorry. I still love you. I never should have left." But love can. Grace can. And sometimes, if you are lucky, the very person you thought you lost forever might still be standing there, waiting for you to become the person you were always meant to be. So if you are listening to this, ask yourself, who do I need to return to? What truth do I need to face? What apology have I left unsaid? Because healing is not in the destination. It is in the decision. To turn around. To try again. To become more than what broke you. And as for me, I am no longer running. Not from love. Not from the past. Not from myself. I am home. And this time, I will stay. Thank you for listening to this heartfelt story on Brave Souls Speak. If it moved you, share it, comment below, and let someone know. You are never alone.